All right, everybody, welcome back. Today we're going deep on butyrate. And you know me, I love a good deep dive. We're working from a transcript today. Someone who claims that butyrate is like the key to happiness and health.
Hmm.
Big claims, right?
Yeah, the source is pretty enthusiastic, to say the least. Calls it a short-chain fatty acid that's going to save your life.
Okay, short-chain fatty acid, not exactly the most appealing term. But before everyone runs away thinking this is going to be all about some crazy diet, let's break this down a bit. What is this stuff?
Yeah, so think of butyrate as like a little messenger molecule,
Okay.
running around delivering info between your gut and brain. Now, there are other short-chain fatty acids out there, too. We've got beta-hydroxybutyrate, propionate acetate.
Right.
But our source here is very focused on butyrate.
Yeah, and they say it helps with everything. Fibromyalgia, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's.
Oh, yeah, they've got a long list.
It's a pretty bold list. I mean, is this stuff a miracle cure or is it just hype?
Well, it's just one source.
All right.
And big claims need big evidence. But there is definitely growing research on butyrate. It's a very interesting molecule.
So where does this wonder molecule come from? Do we eat it?
Actually, it's made by the bacteria that live in your gut.
Okay.
You know, the microbiome everyone's talking about.
Right.
The source specifically mentions two types of bacteria, Faecalibacterium prausnitzii and Rosebaria. They're like the butyrate all-stars.
So we need a healthy gut to get enough of this butyrate.
Exactly. But here's the problem. A lot of the stuff we do, modern life, processed foods and antibiotics, stress, it can really mess with the balance of bacteria in our gut.
Yeah, for sure.
And when that happens, it causes what's called dysbiosis, which is basically an imbalance in the microbiome.
Dysbiosis. Sounds ominous. What does that mean for our health?
Well, those beneficial bacteria, like the ones we were just talking about, they're not just hanging out in your gut for fun. They're actually vital for your overall health, including making butyrate. So when you have dysbiosis, it can lead to fewer of those good bacteria, which means less butyrate for your brain and your body.
Got it. So if dysbiosis is the bad guy in this story, how do we fight back?
Well, that's where the source's recommendations come in: fasting and high-intensity exercise.
Fasting? Really? Seems a little counterintuitive. Wouldn't that starve the good bacteria too?
It's not really about starving them. It's more like sending a signal. See, when you fast or do some really intense exercise, you're putting your body under stress.
Right.
And that stress tells your liver to ramp up production of something called beta-hydroxybutyrate. That's another short-chain fatty acid.
Yeah, we mentioned that one earlier.
Right. And that one can actually be converted into butyrate.
Interesting.
So it's available for your body to use.
So it's like a backup system. When your gut bacteria aren't making enough, your liver steps in.
Exactly. It's about resilience,
Oh,
adaptability, even at a cellular level.
I like it. But I gotta say, I'm a bit hesitant about the whole fasting thing. Seems intense.
Oh, for sure. You have to approach it safely and gradually. Always listen to your body and talk to your doctor before doing anything drastic.
Good advice. So besides potentially, putting our bodies through the ringer with fasting and intense exercise, what else can we do to boost this butyrate?
Well, remember those gut bacteria that make butyrate? They need to eat too.
Ah, okay.
And their favorite food is fiber.
Right, of course. So a high-fiber diet is key.
Exactly. And that's where those keto-friendly foods come in that the source is so into. They're not only good sources of butyrate themselves, but they also feed those beneficial bacteria that make it set.
The source mentioned potatoes and sweet potatoes, but they had to be cooked and then cooled. What's up with that?
That's how you create resistant starch, which acts like a prebiotic fiber. It's food for your gut bacteria. It's like fertilizer for your gut garden.
So I'm picturing my gut like a lush garden full of happy butyrate-producing bacteria. What else can we feed these little guys?
Well, the source also mentioned things like grass-fed ghee.
Wait, ghee? Like clarified butter? I'm intrigued.
Yeah. It's all about the quality, though. Grass-fed ghee is a good source of butyrate itself. Plus, it's got other healthy fats that can support a healthy microbiome.
Interesting. I'm starting to see how all this fits together. But before we get too lost in the weeds of all these foods, let's zoom out a bit. The source claims that butyrate is crucial for a strong blood-brain barrier. What exactly does that mean, and why should we care?
So think of the blood-brain barrier as like a security checkpoint,
Okay.
protecting your brain from all the harmful stuff that might be floating around in your bloodstream. And a strong blood-brain barrier is really crucial for keeping your brain healthy and functioning properly.
So it's like a bouncer at a club, but way more selective.
Exactly. And just like a good bouncer, the blood-brain barrier needs to be strong and alert to keep out any unwanted guests.
When it's compromised, things can get messy.
Yeah, when the blood-brain barrier is weak, It can let in toxins and all sorts of harmful substances,
Oh,
leading to inflammation and potentially damage to brain cells.
that sounds bad.
Yeah, it can be. So how does butyrate help? Research suggests that butyrate actually helps to maintain the integrity of the blood-brain barrier. It's like reinforcing the walls of that high-security facility. It also helps reduce inflammation, which further protects the brain from damage.
Wow, this seemingly simple molecule is doing a lot of impressive work in our bodies. Producing energy, supporting a healthy gut microbiome, now acting as a security guard for our brains.
It really is remarkable, isn't it? And it just shows you how interconnected everything is in our bodies. What happens in the gut doesn't stay in the gut.
Right.
It affects our overall health and well-being.
So if we want to be healthy, we need to think bigger than just individual organs. Look at the whole picture.
Exactly. It's about a holistic approach,
Yeah.
understanding how all the pieces fit together.
And butyrate seems to be one of those crucial pieces, affecting everything from our gut to our brain to our mood.
It's a fascinating molecule, definitely worth further exploration.
It is. It's funny, since we started this deep dive into butyrate, I've been seeing it everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
It's like when you get a new car and suddenly you see the same car everywhere you go.
Yeah, that's the Bader-Meinhof phenomenon at work.
Right.
Our brains love to latch onto things we've just learned about. Makes
Yeah.
it seem way more common.
So true. But speaking of seeing butyrate everywhere, let's get back to that list of foods that the source recommended for boosting it.
Okay.
We were talking about cooked and cooled potatoes and sweet potatoes for that resistant starch,
Right.
but there were some other interesting things on that list.
Yeah, the source is a big fan of grass-fed ghee.
Wait, ghee, isn't that just clarified butter? I mean, it seems a little counterintuitive to think of butter as a health food.
Well, it's not just any butter. It's specifically grass-fed ghee. And there's a reason for that.
Mm.
You see how the cows are raised and what they eat?
Mm.
It has a huge impact on the nutritional content of their milk. And that affects the ghee that's made from it.
So it's all about the quality of the food, not just the food itself.
Exactly.
That's a good reminder to be mindful of, where our food comes from and how it's produced.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, besides ghee, the source also mentions a bunch of other foods that can contribute to a healthy microbiome and potentially boost butyrate production. Things like avocados,
Okay.
MCT oil,
Mm.
onions, garlic,
Uh-huh.
leeks asparagus, even bananas.
Wait, bananas. I thought those were high in sugar. Doesn't sugar feed the bad bacteria in your gut?
It's not quite that black and white.
Mm-hmm.
While too much sugar can definitely mess with the balance of your microbiome,
Yeah.
bananas also have fiber and other
Yeah.
nutrients that can be beneficial.
Right.
It's really about the overall picture,
Mm.
not just demonizing specific foods.
That makes sense. So it's about creating a balance in our gut,
Exactly.
not just getting rid of certain foods.
Exactly. And that balance goes beyond just what we eat. Remember, the source talked about fasting and exercise as what's to boost butyrate.
Yeah. It seemed a little extreme to me, but you explained how it can trigger the liver to make more.
Right. And those activities have other benefits, too, that tie into this whole gut health picture.
Okay.
Like exercise,
Yeah.
it helps regulate blood sugar, but it also improves circulation,
Right.
which is key for getting nutrients to the gut and removing waste.
So it's not just about forcing our livers to do the work. It's about making things easier for our bodies to thrive.
Exactly. Working with our bodies, not against them.
I like that. Okay, back to butyrate as a security guard for the brain. Can we break that down a bit more? What exactly is the blood-brain barrier, and why is it so important?
Okay, so imagine your brain as this high-security facility
Okay.
with a really tight entry system. That's basically what the blood-brain barrier is. It's a selective membrane that separates the blood from your brain and spinal cord.
Gotcha.
It's there to protect your brain from harmful stuff
Right.
while still letting in the essential nutrients and molecules.
So like a bouncer at a fancy club, but way more picky.
Yeah, exactly. And just like a good bouncer, that blood-brain barrier needs to be strong
Yeah.
and vigilant to keep the bad guys out.
And when it's compromised, things can get messy.
Yeah, when the blood-brain barrier is weak, it can let in toxins and other harmful substances,
Oh.
which can lead to inflammation and potentially damage to brain cells.
Not good.
Well.
So how does butyrate help keep that bouncer strong?
Well, research shows that butyrate plays a part in maintaining the integrity of that blood-brain barrier. It's like reinforcing the walls of that high-security facility.
Okay.
And it also helps to reduce inflammation,
Uh-huh.
which further protects the brain.
Wow. So this little molecule is doing a lot. It's producing energy, supporting a healthy gut, and acting as security for our brains.
That's pretty remarkable, right? And it really highlights how everything is connected in our bodies.
For sure.
What happens in the gut affects everything.
So if we want to be healthy, we need to think big picture.
Exactly. It's about a holistic approach, understanding how all the pieces fit together.
And butyrate seems to be a pretty important piece, affecting our gut, our brain, our mood.
It's a fascinating molecule for sure. Definitely worth learning more about.
Welcome back, everyone. I have to say, this deep dive on butyrate has been way more interesting than I expected.
Right.
Who knew a short-chain fatty acid could be so fascinating?
It's a pretty cool molecule.
Yeah.
And like I've said, there's still so much to learn about it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, before we wrap things up, there's one thing I want to circle back to. The source kept mentioning butyrate as this source of clean energy and even linking it to happiness. I got to be honest, I'm a bit skeptical. Is there really any science behind that, or is it just hype?
Yeah, it's not as simple as just, butyrate equals happiness.
Yeah.
But there is a connection between butyrate energy and mood. Remember we talked about how butyrate plays a role in making energy in the mitochondria?
Yeah, those mitochondria are like little power plants inside our cells, right? Turning food into energy we can use.
Exactly. And butyrate seems to help that whole process run more smoothly and efficiently.
So more efficient energy production means more energy for us.
That's part of it. But it's not just about having more energy. It's about having cleaner, more sustainable energy. Think of it this way. When your cells are making energy efficiently, they're also producing less waste,
Okay.
which means less inflammation and oxidative stress in your body. And that can affect everything from your mood to how well your brain works.
So it's not that butyrate is directly making us happy, but it's helping to create a better environment for our bodies and minds to function well.
Right. And when we feel good physically, it's easier to feel good mentally and emotionally too.
Makes sense. It's all about creating the right conditions for well-being, and it sounds like butyrate is a big part of that.
It really does seem to be.
It's amazing when you think about it. This tiny molecule made by bacteria in our gut could have such a huge impact on our health and happiness.
It just goes to show how connected everything is in our bodies and why it's so important to look at the whole picture when it comes to our health.
So if we want to boost our own butyrate production and get all these potential benefits, where do we start?
Well, like we've been talking about, a healthy diet is key.
Right.
Lots of fiber and a variety of whole foods. That's how we feed those good bacteria in our gut that make butyrate. Those cooked in cool potatoes and sweet potatoes are a good place to start.
Yeah, those were interesting.
And adding in some grass-fed ghee and other gut-friendly foods,
Right.
it can make a big difference.
And of course, we can't forget about lifestyle factors.
Absolutely.
Exercise, stress management, good sleep.
All important for a healthy gut.
Well, this has been a really eye-opening deep dive into butyrate. I know I'm going to be looking at my gut health and my food choices differently now.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
And remember, knowledge is power. The more we understand about our bodies, the better choices we can make for our health.
Couldn't agree more. Well, that's all the time we have for today. Thanks for joining us for this fascinating exploration of butyrate. We hope you learned something new and feel inspired to take charge of your own health.
And as always, talk to your doctor before making any big changes to your diet or lifestyle. Keep exploring, keep learning, and keep those good gut bacteria happy.
See you on the next deep dive.